I know you have a great love of music. I'd like to ask you, who has composed music particularly that you love?
I do love music, yes indeed. Of all the arts, to me it seems like the highest of the arts, the most intense, the deepest, the highest and the deepest, reaches highest, plunges deepest. I think I learned to love music during my childhood. My mother played the piano, and after she put us brats to bed at night, there were 5 of us, poor woman, had 5 children, our little 98-pound mother. She would try to play us to sleep with the piano. She'd be downstairs playing the piano, Chopin, Schumann, or old hymns, and we'd be upstairs slowly falling to sleep under the influence of that gentle piano music. So I've been a lover of music ever since. When I was a kid, back in the Allegheny Mountains of Pennsylvania, part of Appalachia, there were still authentic bluegrass bands playing for genuine square dances in the town halls. And so quite early in boyhood I learned to love the music of the fiddle and the banjo and the guitar and the gut bucket. So most of my life I've been in love with both the great classical music of Europe, from Bach on to Shostakovich, and the country music of America, the bluegrass, the cowboy songs, the blues, and to some extent jazz. I have to admit I don't know much about jazz. I haven't heard nearly enough of it. Lately I've acquired a taste for some African and Oriental music. I love the classical Japanese music, for example, the koto and the samisen, and some of the dance music of Africa, the original music of Africa, which is probably the original of all music. In the beginning was rhythm, said Stravinsky, a beating drum. Then somebody invented the flute. Maybe we should have stopped there. Drums and flutes, still 2 of my favorite instruments. But among composers, I like almost all of them. It would be easier to mention the ones I cannot stand, like Mendelssohn, Scriabin. Who else? Ferdy Groffet? No, I like the Ferdy Groffet. Maybe bastard composers like George Gershwin, who tried to combine the classical with jazz. I like his stuff, but I don't like it very much. I much prefer the authentic, real blues or jazz to Gershwin's attempted synthesis of it with traditional classical music. I'm a great lover of Charles Ives. I think he may be our greatest American composer. But I also like Waylon Jennings and Roy Acuff, among many others. Bob Dylan, I cannot stand or sit. Elgar, some of those half-assed English composers I don't like very much. Elgar and all his vapid, tepid imitators. But you can say in general I like most music. But the music I love best is live music. A living person, or bird, or coyote, making music in the here and now.
In the world of painting, do you find any form of art or any artists to be of your preference?
Well, I'd certainly like to take this opportunity to put in a plug for our good friend Jean Dupuis, whom I think, quite seriously, is the greatest living American landscape painter. I love his paintings. I like them because of that fantastic primordial quality in them, which it seems to me opens a kind of window into the natural world, punches a hole through the wall of our urban industrial world, and reveals something basic and instinctive that we have almost forgotten, have almost lost. I think Dupuis' art is primitive and highly sophisticated at the same time, like a lot of great art, like Stravinsky's music. Somehow it combines the ancient and the contemporary. I admire that. Other than Dupuis, whom I should admit is a good friend of mine, I'm really not very good at the plastic arts. I'm not familiar with much of what's going on in painting. I like Fritz Scholder's work among our contemporaries. Otherwise, I just have to admit that I haven't paid much attention to contemporary art and hardly know what's going on. Oh, I'm dimly aware of all the movements that keep popping up back in New York. The pop art and the Andy Warhol's kind of garbage and the things that have happened since then. What is it called now? Photographic realism, super realism, neo-realism. Those meticulously drawn paintings of gas stations. That doesn't interest me. I'd much rather look at good photographs than that kind of art. I understand it. It's just some sort of ironical intention there, or even parody. I think I can see the humor in it, but it just doesn't interest me very much. I'd say in general the modern art world is probably even more corrupt than the world of publishing and books. There's more phoniness and fakery. It must be a tough time to be a painter unless you're a simple and honest man like Jean Dupuy, or maybe Fritz Shoulders. I don't know him, but I sure like his work.
You mentioned photography. Do you have much of a regard for photography as any kind of an art form, or as a means of conveying?
I think photography is valuable as a means of recording the truth about contemporary life. And so for me, the most interesting photography is that which portrays human beings, the human environment, street scenes, highway scenes, people sagging in doorways or standing up straight. The photography of nature, scenic photography, although I admire the great skill of people like Ansel Adams and Elliot Porter and Philip Hyde, that kind of photography does not appeal to me, probably because I live right here in the West and I can look at all that glorious scenery firsthand, and so even the best representations of it do not satisfy. But I think photography is very valuable for record keeping, recording events, human artifacts, faces, machines, buildings, battles, part of our history. That's about all I have to say about photography. I never owned a camera myself. I'm not sure which is the front end, which is the back side of a camera. But I respect those people with the skill and the patience to learn to manipulate those devices, appreciate their work.